Hello everyone, welcome. Thanks for joining our diagnostic training session today. Now what you're about to see is a pre-recorded training session we did over in the United States. But be assured that a lot of the material that we cover is really applicable to any automotive application. So just be aware that yes, it is a lot of North American vehicles, but a lot of the same principles apply over in the UK as well. Now if you have any questions, if you're watching this during the premiere, you can just leave it in the chat. We'll be monitoring that. And if you're watching this after the premiere, then just feel free to leave a comment underneath the video and we'll get to those as we can as well. So my name is Jason Gabrenas. I'm one of Snap-on Diagnostics technical trainers. I've been in the training department since 2013, traveling around North America, helping techs and shop owners get the most out of their diagnostic equipment. Before I did that, it was a couple years as a diagnostic sales rep at Snap-on, so I had a group of about 30 different franchisees I worked with, as well as the shops that they service, in order to help everyone get the most out of their diagnostic needs. Then before I did that, it was 8 years at Subaru, so I worked in a dealership, and over time, I guess, I just became that default diag guy in the shop. So I always ended up having the drivability problems, the intermittent problems, the weird wiring problems that would show up on those cars. And that's really where I cut my diagnostic teeth, was trying to figure out all those weird head scratcher type cars that had come into my bay. Then before that, a bunch of other miscellaneous wrenching jobs. Been a little over 25 years under hood experience for me. So our topic today is our OEM-specific ADAS training, and we are on the final manufacturer in this series, and it is Mazda. So we'll talk through a few different things on Mazda. A lot of similarities between models, but newer ones, there's some differences, and we'll get to those as we talk through it. So the first one we're going to talk about is the 2021 CX-5, little crossover there. Mini SUV type looking thing. It's got 5 cameras, one up in the windshield and 4 around the outside, 360 view and lane keep. Got 3 radars, 1 in the front, 2 in the back for adaptive cruise and blind spot monitor. And it has 8 ultrasonic sensors, so 4 in the front, 4 in the back for parking. So let's look at the front camera first. That is up in the windshield area, much like pretty much every manufacturer has one nowadays, but it's a pretty simple little unit, clips in there, and then it's just a little connector there, and ready to swap. Now, reprogramming it might be a little bit more complex than some vehicles. It seems like a lot of the Asian manufacturers decided they wanted to do plumb bobs and strings and targets. And Mazda's no different. So it's got to be on a nice level floor. It's got to be on the same plane, no weird angles or anything like that. You need a minimum amount of space in the front. So 4 meter by 4 meter box looks like. And up to about a couple meters high. Just for the spread of the camera, I guess, to make sure nothing's contaminating the signal. And then you are going to align up the center line of the emblem with a string and a plumb bob, and you're going to measure where the middle is, and you're going to mark it on the floor, and you're going to do that for the back too, and then you're going to draw a line between them all. And seems like a really long, drawn-out way to do it, but hey, I guess it's cheap. And then in this case, Mazda allows you to print out your targets. I don't know if you'd necessarily want to do that, but you sure can. I don't know how much printer ink you have on hand to use, and I don't know how good a black it's going to give you when you print it out that way, but hey, they do allow you to do that and put them together. It also says, by the way, when taping the 2 target sheets together, affix a cellophane tape to the back of the target patterns. That way you don't get any weird reflections off the front. It's going to look kind of like that. Make sure it looks in these dimensions. And then you're going to tape them to a wooden board, which does not reflect light, and affix the targets as such. It's going to give you distances and heights that you need to meet on that as well. And then make it a certain distance away from the vehicle, however distant they say it needs to be. And there you go, all set up with the target, and then you would go through with the scan tool, and you would walk through the procedure to do it. Easy enough, I guess. Seems a little time-consuming with the strings and plumb bobs and stuff. You could just use a ADAS rack like our True Point or the Easy ADAS. Makes it a little easier than that. But that's how you would do it. Front radar is mounted to the bumper, of course, in the front. And you would get to that through the Smart Brake Support Mazda Radar Cruise Control. And that is a special function. And then it's a radar aiming. So set up the reflector and execution conditions. Refer to the workshop manual for details. So this is going to be very similar to the camera, except it uses a different reflector. It's like a pyramid in a way. It's like a cone, but shaped like a pyramid. We're going to walk through that when we get live a little bit later. But you do need to use the scan tool to enter the aiming mode as well. It's a static aiming mode. It's going to count down, and then it's going to start firing the radar. So you need to make sure everything's set up before you go in with the scan tool. But once you do go in with the scan tool, it doesn't take terribly long, and then it will calibrate that radar. Rear radar, it's going to be a similar type situation. So those are mounted to the kind of the corners in the rear. There's the little air flap there in the back of the vehicle, and those will be blind spot monitoring left or right. So we went into left, going to functional tests. Then there's blind spot monitoring radar, aiming using reflectors. So once again, that's the same reflector as you'd use in the front, and you just got to aim it in the right spot. It's normally performed with the blind spot monitoring module with radars removed or replaced. Was the blind spot monitoring module with radar removed or replaced, or the bumper removed? So you're going to say yes or no. In this case, we'll hit continue. Don't turn it off. Make sure there are no codes in the modules either. And then you can do the right side or the left side or both in a combination. So we pick the left side, refer to workshop manual to set the target. And like I said, we're going to walk through that in a second. How to set up the target and where. Don't press the throttle pedal, and then it's just going to go fire the radars and tell you when it's done. Front camera in this case is right below the emblem, so you can see you got this little mount there, and the wire goes through there. We got a couple clips we need to undo in order to pop it off with a flathead screwdriver. But that'll get that front camera, and that is considered the view monitor camera, so that's what that module is called. We'll go into special functions, and then 360-degree VMC aiming, so the view monitor camera aiming. It's going to give you a few prep things to do. Vehicle needs to be empty of all occupants, and the cargo can only have the spare tire, jack, and tools, so you need to be out of the vehicle when you're doing this. And it needs to be basically as it rolled off the assembly line at that curb weight. Adjust each tire pressure to the specified value. Put the vehicle on level ground. Correct front camera aiming cannot be done if the setting surface height and angle between the vehicle and target marker differ. Front camera aiming with the vehicle and target marker setting surface must be performed on level ground. It means within 2 degrees front to back, left to right. Do not move or shake the vehicle. Move dust and dirt from the lens. Voltage of the 360 view monitor control module must be 9.5 to 15.5 volts. That's a pretty good range. Perform the aiming adjustment at approximately negative 30 to positive 60 Celsius or negative 22 Fahrenheit to 140 Fahrenheit. Verify there are no 360 monitor unit DTCs. If DTCs are displayed, then perform the necessary repairs. If all those have been met, we'll hit yes. And then you can set marker by vehicle display monitor, all camera aiming, or individual aiming. Select which camera to adjust. Always carry out this function using the entire service procedure recommended in the workshop manual. And then you do front camera, rear camera, left camera, right camera. Or exit. Please set marker to be settled in red frames in the vehicle display monitor. After setting the marker, push the OK button. Continue setting the front marker setting the markers for the other cameras. So if I wanted to do just one, I can hit no. If I wanted to hit all of them, I will hit yes. Please select which camera to adjust the marker positions. Always carry out the function according to the entire service procedure, and then I would just pick whatever the next camera I need to do is. Ultrasonic sensors for parking. Those mount, clip into the bumper, and they're just 2 little clips, pull in, pull out, and you got a connector there. Pretty simple system. And much like most other manufacturers out there, that'd be the park sensor module, but there's no resets, relearns, recalibrations for them. They're plug and play. So in the sensor module, you get codes and data. Okay, 22CX9, so that's a little bit longer. And pretty much the same setup, though, as the CX5, right? So 5 cameras, 3 radars, and 8 ultrasonic sensors around the vehicle. Like I said, very, very similar to that CX5. The procedures are going to be pretty much the same as well. So there's the camera again. Looks like almost the same picture. We got the connector in the camera. And that would be, once again, under the forward sensing camera to go do that. Front radar mounts in the bumper. And that would be on the Smart Brake Support Mazda Radar Cruise Control. Going to be the same exact procedure with the reflector that we looked at earlier. Left and right rears. Going to be mounted in pretty much the same way. Got the 3 bolts on them on a bracket. And that'll be under the left or right, depending on what we're doing. Front camera on this one is a little bit below the emblem. So you'll be able to see it right there. And a couple screws hold that one in. And that would once again be view monitor camera. So it's a little bit different, but same procedure. Ultrasonic sensor, same deal. Clips into the bumper. There's 4 in the front, 4 in the back. That'd be in the parking sensor module. And there is no reset, relearn, recalibration for that. And then we have a 2023 CX30. So this one's a little bit different. So when they, I guess when they went to the double numbers instead of the single numbers, it was a little bit different. This one's a little bit more well equipped than the other one. So it's got 5 cameras. It also has 5 radars. So it's got the one in the front and the middle for adaptive cruise. It's got the 2 in the rear for the blind spot monitor, and it's got 2 in the front corners for the cross traffic alert. So it's got 3 radars in the front, 2 in the back, and then it also has 8 ultrasonic sensors. So the camera looks a little bit different. Still mounted up in the top and the center. And that would be under the forward sensing camera in this case. So you would go in there. 360 camera. It's going to be a this one of the ones in the side mirror. So that is a very similar setup. Actually, it's pretty much exactly the same. But it's in the 360 view monitor camera, so they just changed it slightly. They changed the verbiage a little bit. That's what they did in the factory tool. Special functions, 360 VMC aiming. And there we go. Empty of all occupants, tire pressure, etc. So all the specs are the same. And then you can do either all cameras or individual cameras. So that's a slightly different menu there. And then we go in. All right, the front radar is behind the emblem on this one. So you can see how it just kind of mounts behind the emblem. And you may have noticed on a lot of newer vehicles where they have a big emblem in the front, that they're kind of maybe translucent almost, or like kind of shaded, but almost transparent, like they're not a full block of thick plastic like they used to be, right? And that is due to many times a radar unit being behind that, and it needs the radar waves need to be able to go through unobstructed. Heard plenty of stories of, oh, I put an aftermarket grill on my vehicle and now my adaptive cruise control doesn't work. Yeah, because whoever manufactured the aftermarket one didn't make sure the thickness was correct behind the radar. So it happens from time to time. I think hopefully maybe the aftermarket's caught up to it by now, but maybe not. Maybe it's for a different vehicle, right? So who knows? Hard to say. But that would be under the front radar sensor. Easy enough. And a special function. And this is different because it has a dynamic aiming. So dynamic aiming is much easier than setting up all the targets and center lining the vehicle and all that good stuff. So this one, you just set it and drive the car. Much easier. So always carry out this function according to the entire service procedure as recommended in the workshop manual. Be careful that the tester doesn't disconnect from the vehicle and no other function is selected, so you need to stay in this test while you're doing it. Confirm that the PC scan tool battery is charged enough and cancel any sleep mode. This test may take approximately 15 minutes until aiming completion and cannot be interrupted. For safety, the driver must pay attention to the road while driving and not watch the tester screen during this test. So you would do it on with a buddy, or if you're using our tool, you could set a PID trigger. So we'll go through that. And key on, engine off. Ignition must be on. And then puts it in dynamic aiming mode. And then you would drive the vehicle. I'm going to tell you exactly how. So driving the vehicle under the following conditions for approximately 15 minutes until complete is displayed and necessary to complete the dynamic aiming process. 3 miles an hour, 5 kilometers per hour or more. Deceleration speed must be 2.5 meters per second squared or less. A straight road, turning radius of 100 meters or more. Road with structures, guardrails, building signs, because the camera needs stuff to aim at and look at. So driving the vehicle while matching the above conditions does not have to be continuous. It can be broken up in a way, but it'll be a lot faster the more of those conditions you can meet for the longer the time you can do it. Front side radar. It's going to actually be very much the same procedure as the front radar. It is also dynamic, but the front side radar sensor left and right. Special functions. We choose left side. And then dynamic aiming, same thing. Key on, engine off. Dynamic aiming mode. Gives you the exact same setup. So you actually go through and do the whole deal when you want. It's just going to be a little bit different. Dynamic aiming mode is complete when aiming mode PID displays off. So in the case where it's aiming, it's on, and then it sets itself to off. So I could set a PID trigger on that, like I said, for it to trigger when it goes to off. So it'll be on, off. Because we graph on, off PIDs. You can just set a trigger for it to be off, and then when it's off, it'll beep, and then you'll know. Easy enough. Rear radars, going to be the same deal, except it's in rear side sensor left and right, and under special functions, and that is a dynamic aiming as well. Follow the procedure, puts it in dynamic aiming mode, drive the vehicle as it tells you to, just like we did before. And then it's complete when the PID says off, just like before. So, just so you're aware, basically the same procedure all the way around. And then as far as ultrasonic sensors, we can kind of see where those are mounted in the bumper there. There's 4 in the front, 4 in the rear, and they just clip in, plug and play. If you want to get codes and data, it's in the parking assist unit, but like I said, no resets, relearns, calibrations, anything like that. All right, well, let's go live and look at some other information on the tool and in ShopKey. Pull up the first one, CX5. This is going to be the, in this case, some of our tools, so the Apollos, the Tritons, and the Zeus, will have the service resets and relearns menu. So what this does, it takes any of the resets, relearns, bidirectional controls on the vehicle, and then it takes them and places them in under jobs. So in this case, let's say we replaced or need to calibrate the front radar. Go in there. It's going to give you bulletins if applicable. Functional resets is going to pull up any of those resets. So there's my radar aiming right there. I'd walk through the procedure. Also, I have a link to repair information. So if you have Snap-on repair information, you can come in here. So ShopKey, Mitchell. Oops. Wow, I am logged in a bunch of times. Let's just log all those out. That'd be easier. All right. Logs me in, logs the vehicle in, and does a search for the repair. Then if I come down here for after repair, it's going to tell me what I need to do. And look at that. There's our target. It needs a tripod. There's your plumb bob and string. And tells you how much room you need in the front. Make sure it's level. There's how to get the center line in the back, center line all the way through. Put it a certain distance away. Set up the reflector at the right height. Use the bubble level that's in it. And just keep on going. And then you'll go through the radar aiming procedure. This is the manual procedure, right, with the reflector. And it will go through. Now, if it does have an aiming unsuccessful, it will give you a failure code. And then depending on what that failure code is, we'll tell you what to do here. So improper target position, improper target angle, multiple targets, target moves, no target, vehicle condition malfunction. Any of those reasons would be enough to disable it. So it will just give you a failure code, and then you just need to know what to do to fix it. And luckily, it's in that table. Next one's the CX9. For this one, we're going to do the blind spot. So that's going to be very much a similar procedure. We'll just go into the left blind spot. Functional test, blind spot monitoring. Needs to be done when it's removed or replaced. Don't press the off switch. Make sure there's no codes. And then you can do right side, left side, or right and left side. It's going to error out here in a second because I'm not hooked up to a car. Ignition on, key on, engine off. Make sure you put the target in the right place. And before you continue, start engine. And then, in this case, I'm not hooked up to a car, so I get a communication failure. All right. But we can go in under our repair information. And we have a ADAS table. And if we want to go to the blind spot sensor, and we go to after repair here, same reflector, same everything. Except the exclusion area is a little bit different. So it's an 11-foot radius, I guess. About 180 degrees off each side of each corner of the car. And that is your detection area. So make sure nothing's in that area. And then that's where you'll end up putting your reflector while you're doing the repair. So once again, find the center line of the vehicle. Set up the target where it needs to be. There's 3 different positions. So E, C, and D. Or actually probably E and D. Don't need to worry about C. C is just your center line. Then it goes through the test, and it either says test passed or test failed. And once again, it tells you why it'll fail. And lastly, the CX30, which is going to have the dynamic calibration. So let's do the front. The unique part of this one is it's got the front left and right. So we'll do the left. Special function, dynamic aiming. Make sure you do the whole procedure. Key on, engine off. puts it in dynamic aiming mode, and then you need to drive it under those conditions. Then the PID will display on or off. So in this case, we can open a graph and we can see how it's going on and off. So if I wanted to, I could go to setup and set a trigger. So set the trigger for off, save it. It's not on very much, so there it goes, it went off. So as soon as it goes to on, or you could set it to on, I guess would be the right way to do it, set it to on actually. I have my brain backwards, but set it to on. That way it will, when it, oh wait, no. Yeah, when it says off. I had it right. Never mind. Yeah, so when it says off. So I have a trigger on off, and then the tool will beep at me when it goes off. So I don't need to worry about watching it. I can just leave it in the seat and go. So pretty handy. And then if we wanted to look at that procedure in my repair info, my ADAS again, front blind spot, after repair. All right, it's going to tell you make sure there's no water, mud, dirt, sticker adhesion, or repair is done using putty application on the surface of the front center brand animal or the front bumper. So yeah, no using Bondo anymore. Well, I don't think you want to probably use Bondo too much on a plastic bumper, but I suppose you could. I suppose people do. Anyways, you don't want to do that on a vehicle with radar. And then it'll go through how to do the different radars aiming. They're all the dynamic. So dynamic aiming, and walks you through that procedure. So you don't have to worry about having targets and room and exclusion zones and all that stuff, right? So the newer ones seem to be pretty straightforward. The older ones need some targets, but you could print your own for the camera anyways. For the radar, it's a little bit different. Or you could just use a targeting system like TruePoint or Easy ADAS, that sort of thing. Readily available. We do manufacture our own targets, and we do manufacture them to the OEM specifications. And the tool walks you right through where to place all the targets. So very easy to do, even if you need targeting systems. And that is Mazda. And that is our OEM-specific ADAS series come to a close. And with that, that's our time here today. So make sure you tune in for new diagnostic content every week. We'll be premiering a new video every Wednesday at 7 p.m. UK time, so make sure to check it out here on our YouTube channel. Please make sure you also subscribe, thumbs up, and ring that little notification bell so you'll know anytime we post new content. With that, time for questions. Now, if you have any questions, once again, if you're watching this on the premiere, just leave it in the live chat and we'll do our best to answer those. Otherwise, leave a comment under the video and we'll get to those as we monitor those comments as well. So I'd like to thank you for taking a little bit of time out of your day to learning a little bit more about how you might be able to be more efficient at diagnosing vehicles using some of the information that we've been giving you today. Hopefully we'll see you next week, and we'll see you on any of our other videos. Have a good week, have a good night, and take care.